Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second round of the AOR Hype Energy Xbox One Oceania F1 League. We are here in the Persian Gulf on the island nation of Bahrain. The Bahrain International Circuit plays host to tonight's Grand Prix, first seen in Formula One back in 2004, becoming the first Formula One race in the Middle East, and since 2014 has been run as a night race, originally to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Grand Prix, but it turned out to be a very popular decision and we still race under the floodlights today. The circuit reports that there are over 4,700 staff working at the venue on a Grand Prix weekend, 1,800 police and security staff to help keep the fans safe, and 600 track marshals. One of the unsung heroes of motor racing. Without marshals, we don't go racing. The first ever Bahrain Grand Prix was won by Michael Schumacher in dominant fashion, of course driving the F2004, one of the most legendary Formula One cars of all time. However, today all our drivers are in equal machinery, so we hope to see much closer action on the circuit. My name is Fitcho, and commentating alongside me today is Matt212. We are just moments away from getting this qualifying session underway. The AOR pole record here was set by the Flying Finn, a 1:27.299. However, we could see that record get broken tonight. The tyres available for this Grand Prix are the red striped super softs, the yellow softs, and finally the white walled medium tyres. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone does use those supers this weekend, as the ideal strategy is looking like a one-stop with the softs and then onto the mediums. Here is the 5.4 kilometer Sakhir circuit, featuring 15 corners and 2 DRS zones, the first one running down the pit straight and the second from turn 10 up to turn 11. Now we will ride on board for a lap, driven by CRG Evo and commentated by Curtis Ninja Rider.
Welcome to Sakhir Bahrain. I am Ninja Rider, here to take you on the hot lap of the Sakhir International Circuit. This is CRG Evo on the Xbox One. He won the last round at Australia here at AOR. Turn 1, very sharp off of the pit straight. Lots of passing opportunities here, and 30 meters wide on the track here. 2 and 3 taken flat out. A little bit of a lift here in true to get you down the front straight. Turn 4. Passing opportunity there, a switchback, and another wide part of the track. Drivers will be taking the whole thing left, right, and left here through the S section. Gotta be careful to not cut the track or leave the track in any fashion. Cut it right down. The turn 7 and 8. And now 9 and 10. Double corner, gotta watch the bump there on the inside of turn 10. A very slow section of the track, but with DRS, they ramp it all the way up. 8th gear grabbed before the sweeper in turn 11. Got to brake and turn at the same time, and in the same section of corners you must accelerate out. For 12 and 13 you cut it down just a little bit. 4th gear, get the best exit you can down a very long straight. Crank it all the way up, running low downforce for most cars. The slipstream becomes very important here as another passing section here for turn 14. A very exciting track here at Bahrain. And a fantastic lap here by CRG Evo. Enjoy the race, everyone.
Right, the drivers are heading out on their outlap, some of them just getting to the end of that and starting their first flying lap of this 18-minute session. We've already seen New Zealand Ryan, our reigning champion, go off on his outlap into the very tricky turn 9, turn 10 braking zone. Of course, downhill left-hander, very easy to lock up that front left tyre, as Warden 99 has just joined the session. I believe he's come back from Bathurst, a big weekend in Australian motorsport. He's just made it in home in time for today's AOR race, as we have seen a few yellow flags in this session early on. Not too sure who has gone off, as we are going to be getting our first times on the board very soon.
Yeah, I'm sure. Roughly qualifying times around here, obviously, with the track degradation, there'll be around a low 1 minute 26, potentially even a high 1 minute 25 as well. But as you said about strategy, it is going to be very, very tough for those of the racers that do actually start on those super soft tyres to keep those tyre temps nice and cool in the first stint, because around here they can overheat very, very easily with how many big traction zones there are. And, well, as soon as those tyres overheat, there is very little chance that you're going to be able to get them back into a comfortable window again.
Yeah, tyres are going to be a big deal in this Grand Prix. Like you said, tyre temperatures, very, very important. Of course, here in the Middle East, in the desert, although it is a night race, temperatures are still very, very high. And we also need to watch the degradation on the tyres. Talking to some of the drivers before this Grand Prix, it looks like a soft to medium strategy is the preferred strategy. And super softs to medium is going to get you a better qualifying position. But you're going to be really, really stretched to make those tyres last for the entire 29-lap Grand Prix here in Bahrain. So it's going to be interesting to see what drivers do in terms of the tyres, and so far all the early times are actually coming in on the super soft tyre, except for Tiamat Marduk and Roscoe Arm, which is not quite what I was expecting in this session, as DRC Jared currently sits atop the timing pylon with a 127.8 just in front of Pencilman in the McLaren.
Yeah, so fairly decent lap from Jared, obviously, with F1 2018, and I know we've spoke about a whole host of the changes that do come to this game this year, which obviously makes the racing even better and even less predictable as well, which is obviously what everyone wants to see. One of the big things, obviously, for qualifying is track deg. The pace of the track will the time, will really drop as you get later on during the session, like you'd expect in real life, which obviously we haven't really ever seen before in the Formula 1 games. I'm sure these guys, although they would have done a fair bit of practice, they'll know the different limits on the track. For a lot of them, it will still be a case of, well, almost being last man out on a lap. I know it's not quite that critical, but it is very much a case of you want to be going on your final lap with, say, a minute to spare at the very most to really give yourself a good chance of being further up the order. And as you can see currently now, Max Berserk actually now goes 4/10 quicker than DRC Jared. They're now up into provisional pole. But we've still got 12 minutes to go of this qualifying session already, only 1/3 of the way through so far. And, well, we've only seen 11 drivers so far set a lap, and I'm sure we're going to see those times tumble towards the end of the session. There is Tiamat Marduk actually ties with Pencilman there, and weirdly he's been placed ahead of him, which I guess that's down. Obviously the game measures to the 4th decimal point there, but I wasn't expecting to see a tie so far. But that's a very, very good lap by Ben on those mediums, already sneaking down into a 1 minute 27 there. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with that at this early stage of the session.
Yeah, that's a very competitive time for a medium tyre. Of course, he's sitting there in 3rd place, equal on time with 4th, a 10th behind Jared there in 2nd, who are all running on the super soft tyres. I did mention the strategy soft to medium. Of course, that could be flipped around medium to soft, but I would have thought qualifying-wise, that is not the ideal way to go, because of course the mediums are going to be slower than the soft tyre. But maybe Ben throwing in a bit of a curveball, making other drivers think, and we'll have to wait and see what he actually does do towards the end of this session, because like Matt did say, track evolution is a big deal in these qualifying sessions now. Unfortunately, making probably the first half of these sessions fairly redundant, and I guess this could be a little bit of mind games from some of the drivers, trying to force some other drivers into different strategies, and we'll just have to wait and see what does happen when the track's rubbed in, what tyres they go out and set their times on when things really, really do matter.
Yeah, and obviously I think that was really sort of made famous, I say, by Warden last year, where he'd just go for one lap right at the very end of the session, obviously give no one any idea what times he was able to run, and usually be obviously right at the business end of the field by those late stages of the session. Those laps are always brilliant to see, and right on the very edge here. But yeah, still 10 minutes to go of this session. I'm sure a lot of the drivers will be going, for 2, 3, maybe even 4 laps, for example, if they try and go for a couple of double stints, although very, very difficult to do with the ERS. Something else that we do need to mention, ERS is also fairly difficult to manage around this circuit as well. Obviously quite a lot of long straights around here. Obviously the front straight, the straight between 3 and 4, and then obviously 10 and 11 and 13 and 14, so very, very difficult to try and sort of harvest ERS through a lot of the lap, and then obviously through a little bit through the middle sector you can sort of save a fair bit of ERS, especially in race trim where a lot of that won't be fully flat out, fully committed with these 2018 spec cars here. But just trying to look further down the order, we've got Brock does stuff now, so we have got people on every different compounded tyres there. Brock currently on a 1 minute 28.881 on that set of the soft compound tyres here. But Ben still, that lap is looking stronger and stronger the more people that we do see come through. You can see we've got Greek Master on a 1:30.0, Quicksilver on a 1:30.3, Fens on a 1:30.5, and then Roscoe Arm with a 1:31.0 as well here. So yeah, Ben's lap looking really, really strong on that set of medium tyres here. You know, he could definitely be a threat for pole. Obviously, he needs a very, very good race. Obviously, after last time where it's safe to say it went a little less expected. I think a lot of the drivers had planned with that huge, huge pile-up in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, we had a very, very interesting start to the season, to say the least, at the Australian Grand Prix. Down into Turn 3, we had our 4th place car, Dominator, who was a wild card, I do believe, off the circuit. And then just a few corners later, I think it was coming out of Turn number 6, into Turn 7, the little left-hand kink, before the long right-hander of 8 along the wall. There was a little bit of an incident between Ryan and Jared. Ryan just didn't get the power down as quickly as Jared expected him to, into the Mercedes into the back of the Ferrari, spun him around and caused a big chain reaction there and took some big players out of the Grand Prix and really shook up the order. Ryan down the order, Ben out of the Grand Prix, for example. The two constructors winners last year with Mercedes now moving across to Ferrari, still as a teammate pairing. So that really shook things up, and it's going to make this race quite interesting. How are these drivers going to bounce back from all the adversity and misfortune they had in the first round of the season? Are they going to be able to keep cool and bring their season back bring it back properly? I'm forgetting my words here, because it is a 21 race season. Or are they going to get a bit flustered by the early misfortune? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see here at Bahrain. We have 8 minutes left in this qualifying session. It looks like a few of the guys towards the front of the field, Gamble and Drop Bear, are now heading back out onto the circuit on a set of the soft tires, after I believe they originally set their times on... No, they've actually set times on the soft tires. I do apologize. I've just jumped up the order there. Very impressive times from Gamble and Drop Bear there, both going out on the soft tires and mixing it with some of the super soft tire runners. So it's very, very interesting. We have a soft time at a 1:27.4, the best super soft time also a 1:27.4, and the best medium time only half a second slower at a 1:27.9. So tire strategy throughout this qualifying session could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it certainly could, and I think it's a lot closer than either of us were really expecting around this circuit. Obviously, still 7 minutes to go of the session here, but obviously, clearly with so many sort of very long straights around this track, you know, you don't really lose out as much time, obviously, because it's very, very difficult to lose out that much time along straights, obviously, with depending on the compounded tyre you are using here. But yeah, obviously, that is, very, very close. DLG Gamble has done a fantastic job to only be 25 thousandths off a provisional pole here on that set of the soft tyres here. And I think, honestly, a lot of the guys will sort of be looking at that and thinking, we've just got to save those soft tyres right towards the very end of the session, then go out then and hope that obviously you can get the lap hooked up there. You can see Drop Bear as well on a 1:27.781 as well. Does a fantastic job on those tyres there as Greek Master does go through now onto a 1:27.604 on the set of mediums. What a lap that is by him here. So now we've got the top three separated by less than 0.2 of a second, all on different tyres. This is turning into a very, very strange qualifying session, but still 6 minutes to go.
Yeah, and add Fens into that, a 1:27.7, also on the medium tyres, jumping up there. Now that is a very, very interesting looking at that timing pylon with the best tyres everyone set their times on. We still have 6 minutes to go. Track evolution, the track is still rubbering in. So as we just see a soft time go purple there with Drop Bear 27, a 1:27.3. He jumps to P1 there by a 1/10 of a second over Master Berserk. We're going to see these times really tumbles. The track is now rubbering in. These drivers have gone out there, set a few bankers, dialed themselves in. Now they're going to head back to the pits now, I do believe. Get ready for their final assault at this circuit in qualifying. Pick the tyre that they want to start this Grand Prix on and really go for it. What are we going to see? Who's going to go out on the super softs? Who's going to go out on the softs? And is anyone even going to try qualifying on the mediums? I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but it's a very interesting looking qualifying session so far here in Bahrain, as President Cosby has just joined the session. So both him and Warden just making it in during qualifying. They're going to be starting at the back. At least they will get to make the race.
Yeah, it's always better to have a few more cars on the grid in these races. But yeah, you look at people like Greek Master, Fens, and Ben, and they've put, semi-competitive lap times on those set of medium tyres here. And I think, although it'd be very, very unlikely for Ben with that current time, for Greek Master and Fens, they can actually stand quite a good shot of, maybe scraping in P8, P9, say, obviously inside the top 10 there, and that could really, really be useful for them in the early stages of this race. Or do they just try and go out on a set of the soft tyres here? We very, very rarely see it in real life Formula 1, where obviously the harder compounded tyres really work out very well for you in terms of obviously starting on them. You lose so much time in the early stages of the race usually, and then try to go for a bit of an undercut move or an overcut move towards the end of a race. But yeah, it's still very, very interesting to see. Massive Zuck now moves up back into provisional pole here on a 1 minute 27.1. So we are sneaking slowly but surely down towards those 1 minute 26s here. I'm sure we'll see guys probably down around the low mid 26s by the end of this session here. But yeah, it's just really, really strange and impossible to predict at this point of the session here. You know, we've still got guys going out on different tyres here. I think that's Fens currently going out on a set of the soft tyres here. I don't know, Greekmaster hasn't decided to exit the pit lane just yet, so it does look like most drivers are now going out on a set of these soft tyres here. So it is clear that I think a lot of guys will be trying to run that soft medium compound race strategy.
Yeah, that's what I expected coming into this race, the soft, medium strategy. Is anyone going to push it, go onto the Supersofts, trying to claim pole, and then just sort of try to command the race with that track position and try to save their tyres? It's going to be interesting to see. But just talking about qualifying times, a 127.1, that is now a 10th quicker than the previous AOR pole record set by the Flying Finn, a 127.2. I assume that was on last year's game. A couple more tenths found as we head onto F1 2018. And as the track rubbers in even further, I assume those times will tumble, and even when we go into the European races later tonight, which will all be streamed here on the Apex Online Racing channel as well. If you are in Europe, make sure you do check them out. 8 p.m. UK time or European time, I can't quite remember exactly. I'm sure you'll be able to find out on social media if you go follow AOR on Twitter. But we're going to see those times tumble. It's going to be interesting to see what the pole time does end up being here and what compound of tyre that pole time is set on. It's going to be so fascinating, and the tyre choice is going to play a big role in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I can quickly confirm the PS4 Tier 1 starts at 7 p.m. UK time. PC Tier 1 and pretty much all the other tiers start at 8 p.m. UK time, and then the Xbox One Tier 1 does start at 9 p.m. and a lot of streams, obviously across all of those platforms, will be going on across the evening. So, you know, if you're in Europe, definitely a lot of more racing action to come over the course of today. Obviously, we've already had the real-life Japanese Grand Prix this morning, as well as a whole host of AOR races this afternoon and this evening, so plenty to be watching over the course of today. We've got 2 minutes left though now of this session, and now we are really going to see times tumble here. We got, in terms of tyres, most people are on a set of these soft tyres here, as we said, but Drop Bear and DLG Gamble are both on a set of the Supersofts, as well as Laggy Person and Harry Ryan here, as well as Roscoe Arm down the rear of the field, who, yeah, sorry, it's only Neon Tridome that hasn't set a lap yet here. So we are seeing a few split strategies. A lot of these guys, you know, on the Supers, maybe trying to get higher up in the mix here. But this is going to be very interesting to see where they can get themselves, obviously, with that tyre advantage over the rest of the field, but then also how they're fare in the Grand Prix. You know, usually if they can really sort of conserve those tyres, they can still make the one-stop work. But we could potentially see a couple of them maybe try the two-stop, you know, try and go a very long in the middle stint and then go back on to a set of these super soft tyres right towards the end of the race as well. Maybe, you know, sort of take them the last 5 or 6 laps. But I'm not too sure at the moment. Where is the best place to be on with a lap at the moment, Fitcho? Have you found anywhere good?
I was just looking at the timing column. Some people have left it really late to head out for their flying lap. It looks like Master Berserk is going to be so close to make it across the line. I don't think that Laggy Person is going to get another lap in. And DLG Gamble, currently sitting in 4th place, has elected not to go out again in this qualifying session. So he must be happy with the time he has set, as we have now broken into the 126.9s with Fens there on pole position, provisional pole position I should add. They're going on the soft tyre, which is what almost every driver on the track is currently got fitted to their car, except Drop Bear, that Laggy Person, Harry Ryan, and Roscoe Arm.
Yeah, I'm currently on board then with that Laggy Person. This is going to be very tight, but I think he is just about going to be able to scrape it in and get one more lap in this session. It's going to be oh so close as he comes down in towards the final corner. 10 seconds left on the clock out of the final corner. Is he going to be able to start this final lap just in time? 4, 3, 2. Yes, he will. 2 seconds left on the clock here as he makes the long run down towards turn 1 here. 8 gear, 330 kilometers an hour. As he breaks down in towards turn 1 here, make sure he gets the car slowed down nicely in 2nd gear here. Focuses on the traction on the way out now, cycling back up through the gears as well, all the way back up through 7th and 8th, over 300 kilometers once again as he breaks now down in towards turn 4 here, coming now down into Sector 2. H-Show has now gone up into P2 of the session that just misses out on that 1:26 there. So Fens is still on provisional pole, and he has actually got time to go for another run, but still on board with that laggy person here as he comes through the hairpin in second gear, cycling back up through the gears now once more as he comes into the very, very tricky double braking zone, well, double left-hander, sorry, braking zone of turn 9 and turn 10. Neon Trio has finished this session there, and he hasn't improved, unfortunately. New Zealand Ryan now goes 4.5 tenths clear there on a 1:26.4. What a fantastic lap that has been by him so far. That is really, really setting the benchmark in these late stages of the session here. But what is that laggy person going to be able to do as he now comes down in towards the final sector through turn 13 there? He's just got 2 more corners to navigate. That Fens on the inside clearly will only be starting P3 at best. Jared has gone 1,000th of a second quicker than Fens there. What a job that has been by him. But that laggy person out of the final corner, where is he going to move up to in the grid there? Right up towards the line. It is going to be P9 there. So he does sneak himself up into the P10 there. Into the top 10. Both Haskars actually getting up into the top 10 there, and I'm sure they'll be very, very happy with that. But that is qualifying over, Fitcho, and Ryan is once again on pole.
Yes, New Zealand Ryan takes pole position here in Bahrain with a 1:26.4, a new AOR pole record here at the Bahrain International Circuit. DRC Jared lines up on the front row of the grid with him 4.5 tenths slower. A big, big pace difference there at the end, which surprised me. I didn't expect there to be such a big difference. It was looking really, really close, and from talking to drivers, I thought this was going to be quite a close qualifying session, but there we go. The reigning champion has pulled it out right at the death to take pole position by almost half a second, and very, very impressive performance there from New Zealand Ryan. I guess that shows why he is our reigning champion. It's going to be interesting to see how he does go in the race. Is this 1 lap pace going to carry over into the race? Because that is a big deal in this game, especially holding on to those tires. It looks like most drivers did end up going for the soft tires, the front 5 positions all on the softs, with Ryan and Jared on the front row, Fens and Greek Master there on the second row, Ho there in 5th. The first of the super soft runners with Master Berserk in 6th, Drop Bear in 7th, DLG Gamble in 8th. The 2 Haasers both on super softs rounding out the top 10. Tim Marduk starting in 11th place. Could that possibly be a blessing in disguise there for Ben, because he gets free choice of tyre for the Grand Prix? I did expect him to be a bit more of a threat in qualifying there, as he showed impressive pace early on the mediums, but it doesn't look like he would hook it up right there at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ben, he does start down in P11, but obviously it does give him free tyre choice as we move into this race. But yeah, certainly going to be very, very interesting there. Ryan has really just put down the gauntlet once more and just said, so everyone else on track, you know, that he, although we've changed the game, and with how many things that have changed obviously between these 2 games as well, he is still the man to beat when he hooks it up here, and I'm sure we are really, really in for another cracking race here. Obviously, Bahrain, certainly a lot of opportunities to overtake as well, and I'm sure that obviously for DRC Jared there, I'm struggling to get the words out very well. I'm sure for DRC Jared, his aim will probably just not to end up with another incident with New Zealand Ryan there as well. Not putting the blame on him whatsoever, but I'm sure they'll both really want to try and keep it clean over the first few laps there and just focus on trying to capitalise. Obviously, Ryan did still have a good opening race all the way up in P3, it says, P3 overall in the Drivers' Championship, but obviously with that 4th place as Dominator was a reserve, but I'm sure he'll be really wanting to try and get back on the top step of the podium.
Here we go for the formation lap, a chance for the drivers to get everything ready for the start of this Grand Prix, as we have a Ferrari pulling off the grid a bit before the cars in front of them do get underway. Now let's just get up the tyres on my screen. Tim Marduk has elected to start on the medium tyres there in 11th place. A very interesting decision there. He's going very much for a long strategy in the opening phase of the Grand Prix, going for a bit of an overcut and aiming to be fast right at the death of this Grand Prix. He just needs to get through the opening few laps damage-free, because that could really, really ruin his race. And also looking at the front of the grid, Matt touched on this, Ryan and Jared on the front row of the grid, of course the 2 that tangled at the front of the field, causing that mass pile-up in Australia. They will not want a repeat of that, and they'll just want to get through here cleanly. But on the same merit, Jared will want to get past Ryan. They both survived that collision, and they were close on track later on in the Australian Grand Prix, but Jared could not hang with Ryan and just made far too many mistakes.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, Jared, well, you could just see the difference between Ryan even, and Jared in last week's race. Obviously, Jared there was a couple of small places where obviously Ryan was able to make the moves work, and just Jared couldn't follow him through, and I'm sure if for some reason they do end up in that situation again, which obviously I hope for both of them that they don't, it'll really be interesting to see how they both fare. I'm not too sure if it's obviously just the fact I'm on the other side of the world there, but Ryan is lagging around quite a bit for me as well, so hopefully that's not the same for you and it will just be okay in the race, because I'd hate for that to cause any issues in this race as well. Yeah, we've got the Williams once again, obviously, if I'm not mistaken, they are leading the Constructors' Championship, obviously, with that win in the opening round of the season. They're really, well, third and fourth, they are really mounting a challenge that I don't think anyone really expected in the early rounds of this season. But obviously, points aren't awarded for qualifying, and we're almost ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Here we go, the drivers are coming to the end of the formation lap and about to grid up for tonight's Bahrain Grand Prix. We have our reigning champion starting on pole position with the number 1 on his Ferrari. DRC Jared moving to the Mercedes team for this season, lining up alongside him. Of course, we said this before, they came together in similar conditions at the previous round of the championship, the opening round in Australia. A repeat is not what they want of that. Then it's the 2 Williams lining up there together on the second row of the grid, and we are now ready for the start of this Grand Prix. The lights are coming on. We have 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. A lot of wheel spin off the line there for New Zealand. Ryan Jared could get the jump as we head down towards turn number 1. I think the Mercedes is going to get the whole shot. The 2 Williams sitting there in behind as Berserk. Looking out the inside in the Force India, 3 wide there. Just there in second place, third place. Ryan looking back up the inside through turn number 2, but he can't get that move done as Master Berserk has made his way up into second place, getting past there. Toro Rosso off back in the pack. Looks like Jared is going to lead down into turn number 4. Berserk is trying to find him for that position, but he can't get that done as New Zealand Ryan slots there into third place, followed by the 2 Williams with Greek Master just ahead of Fens. Then it looks like it is the Red Bull of HO and Drop Bear. The Haas oh, we have a car off, and that is the Red Bull of HO, and he is out of the Grand Prix. What on earth happened there coming out of the S's? I didn't quite see that.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, I missed that one as well there. Yeah, unfortunate for HO as well, as Brock does stuff there. Obviously, he was able to score that podium last time out, but not able to do the same today. But Master Berserk, what a start this has been for him down the inside of Jared here, and he's going to make that work as well there. What a fantastic start to the race for Master Berserk there. How many places? Where did he start? P5, P6? If I'm not mistaken there, I'm sure he'll be very... Sorry, yeah, he started P6 in this race. So what a start that has been for Master Berserk, 6th to 1st on the opening lap of this Grand Prix there. And really, he absolutely needed to do that on that quicker compounded tyres here. He needs to try and get into the lead and just run away from everyone else and just try to make sure that that one-stop works, obviously, from the softest to what is probably going to be the hardest compounded tyre in this race there. But now Ryan is all over the back of Jared. Is he going to try and look up the inside in towards turn 1 here? He will get the car on the inside there. Jared does give him the room on the outside as well, but Jared will hold on. Ryan, yeah, will get the traction, though, off the exit, and he will now hold on and move back up into P2 of this race there. So now it's all square between these two, but Master Berserk has, well, done an absolutely, well, fantastic opening lap to this race and now leads the race by almost a second there. Greek and Fens still holding on fairly close behind these guys as well there. And just a bit of an update further down the order, Warden is up 8 places already there, although now he picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Ben has carved his way inside the top 10 as well, and the big losers really off that start. Gamble has dropped 3 places, and Brock does stuff obviously after that spin has unfortunately dropped 4.
And a fascinating start there. We talked so much about the tyre strategy during that qualifying session. We're already seeing that come to the fore. Master Berserk, one of the few cars electing to start on the super soft tyres. You can just see that extra grip he does have from the softer compound tyre coming into play in the early phase of the Grand Prix. A great start there for the Force India, making up 5 places. Now into the lead of the Grand Prix. However, he is not quite pulling away. Since New Zealand Ryan got back ahead of Jared, he has pulled in the gap from 9/10 of a second down to about 6. So it's going to be interesting to see how this does play out. How long there's a battle further down the pack with Team Marduk making up a position on Roscoe Arm. He's now into a Haas sandwich there, getting past the first of the 2 Haases. Of course, Ben on the medium tyre. We'll talk about the tyre strategy even more. He started in 11th place, first car with free choice of tyre, as it looks like we have a Sauber moving up the inside of DLG Gamble there. That is Warden, normally in a Force India, of course. Didn't get to choose his car, as he did make it late into this qualifying session. He's had an impressive start all the way up into 10th place. And it looks like we have a Force India, not a Force India, a Toro Rosso and a Renault, not sure what I'm saying, battling into turn 4 as Quicksilver is trying to muscle out Harry Ryan into the S as we go. The Toro Rosso goes deep. The Renault has the inside. The Toro Rosso hangs it around the outside, turns to the inside and pushes the Renault wide. And now it looks like Neon is trying to get involved in that, but he's not quite close enough as Harry Ryan takes away 12th place from the Renault of Quicksilver.
Yeah, it was a very good little battle I saw all the way from the start of the lap through pretty much, well, the entirety of Sector 1 and then down through the S section there. But Harry Ryan will now move up to P12 in one of well, it's his first race definitely of this season. I'm aware he didn't race in last season either, so I'm sure he'll be looking to try and take points in his first race in AOR Oceania there. But just having a look at the gap at the front, and New Zealand Ryan is not letting Massive Zut get away. We've got yellow flags out further down the order. What is
Harry Ryan's off. Harry
Ryan has made a mistake. I'd imagine based on where that is, he's been, unfortunately, been the first victim of the very, very aggressive curb going through the S section there. I know that one. If you touch it, you've basically got no chance overall there. But Ryan now is down the inside of Massive Zerk as well here. All the action is going on all up and down the order there. And Massive Zerk, I don't think he's going to be able to put up much of a fight on the exit of the corner there. And unfortunately, already now that means that Massive Zerk, well, I wouldn't say those tyres are going off just yet, but they are really, really probably already about even with those soft tyres there. And Ryan now up into the lead once again of this race. And is it just a matter of time before Massive Zerk slowly drops back down, or will he be able to hold on to the rear of this Ferrari car over the next couple of laps? Only time will tell.
Yes, we're just going to have to wait and see what does happen at the front of the field. But going a little bit further back, Tim Marduk made a move on the Haas that was the lanky person in front of him. And Roscoe Arm, the other Haas, tried to follow him through on his teammate. I didn't see the contact, but there was contact between the two teammates. And Roscoe Arm unfortunately ended up facing backwards at turn number 1. And he has fallen all the way down to 13th place. Now with Brock Does Stuff right up behind him and Neon just further down the road. And New Zealand Ryan is starting to stretch a little bit away from Master Berserker. I just looked at the gap. It was 5 tenths. Now it's down to almost 7 tenths as Jared looks ready to overtake that Force India now as we come on to the back straight, heading down to the penultimate corner. The Mercedes is looking up the inside of the Force India. This should be a fairly simple move into the final corner, I do believe, and the Mercedes gets that done nice and easily. What is Master Berserk going to be able to do? He's diving off into the pit lane, lap 4, a very, very early stop there for the super soft runner. We did say at the start of the Grand Prix, it's going to be interesting to see how long he does go, and he's already pulling the pin 4 laps into this 29 lap Grand Prix and going onto the medium tyres.
Yeah, I imagine, well, he's going to be very hard pushed to try and take those right the way through to the end of this race, so potentially we could be seeing him go for a 2-stop race here. Yeah, quite surprised just how early he has had to come into the pits there, but I imagine if those tyres are overheating, then it is much better to just do it now than spend the next couple of laps just wheel spinning absolutely everywhere there. But that obviously means that a lot more of the drivers now move back up the order one place once again, that the Williams are now back up into 3rd and 4th here. Drop Bear having a very, very good race out so far, up in P5, with Tim Marduk just 2 seconds behind him. DLG Gamble is still all over the back of that laggy person. It appears that President Cosby is very close to the rear of the Toro Rosso of Brock Does Stuff as well. So even though Brock spun at the start, he seems to have been able to get himself back up fairly, back up into the rest with the rest of the field there. And I mean, he could still be fighting for points by the end of this race, but still a very, very long way to go. Only on lap 5 of lap 29 of this race as well here. So I think we've got DLG Gamble all over the back of that laggy person. Laggy person in the Haas car is on a set of those super soft tyres here, so maybe he's in the same position that Master Berserk was in just 1 lap ago here. Is DLG Gamble going to be able to get down the inside of corner to this? He's using absolutely no ERS there. He does turn it back on down towards the very end of the straight there, and now getting on the traction on the way out there. I think, yeah, that's going to be that laggy person diving in to the pit lane there. So that's going to be another very, very early stop by those super soft runners here. And honestly, I think, well, they're just sort of having to force themselves into a 2-stop race here, because I just don't believe those mediums can go 23 laps unless you really, really nurse them. And he's onto a set of soft tyres there, so clearly he is going to be going on for a 2-stop race here. So I think he's going to try and utilise all 3 sets of tyres. Very, very rare that we see that in AOR as well, though. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting strategy that we'll definitely have to try and keep our eye on throughout the rest of this race.
Yeah, we talked so much about how long the super softs were going to last, and it looks like people have taken the gamble trying to qualify on them and get themselves a little bit of track position. It worked fantastic for Berserk right at the start of the Grand Prix, getting into the lead, but unfortunately he just could not maintain those tires throughout the Grand Prix. It looks like all cars so far that have started on the super softs looking to be forced into a two-stop race. Like you said, mediums from when Berserk stopped, unlikely to make it to the end, and the softs for that laggy person, definitely not going to. I guess it was worth the risk for some of these drivers that aren't normally fighting for victory. Try something different and see how it does go. But unfortunately, that is not paying off. But that tire wear, it's not paying off, but it's definitely a lot worse than perhaps I expected coming to this Grand Prix. I thought the super softs might have lasted a couple more laps than they did, so it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this race does pan out, how drivers go managing those tires, keeping the temperatures down and keeping the wear down throughout this Grand Prix. And just quickly looking up the front of the field, the gap between New Zealand Ryan and Jared is sitting at about 1.7 seconds, but Jared has a Williams right behind him of Greekmaster 99, the winner in Australia, only half a second back.
Yeah, and Greekmaster is obviously really, well, I'm sure he'd love to take home a second win in a row here, and obviously we did sort of speak about him in Australia very, very early on, and well, I think in all honesty he's proven us both wrong in these early stages of this race. It does definitely appear that he does have a lot more pace than I think either of us expected, and he does seem to be able to fight with these guys towards the front of the field there. But the same can be said for DRC Jared as well. You know, both of these guys have closed up the gap to Ryan at the front of the field so much as they came into season 2. F1 2018 Apex Online Racing Oceania as well here, and obviously it is fantastic to see, because well, no one really likes just to see an absolutely dominant display by one person over and over. But yeah, it does really appear that Greekmaster, he could be a massive title threat, obviously, after with that win in the opening round of the season. But yeah, half a second back from Jared at the moment. I'm not too sure. I think at the moment he is just trying to stay on the rear of that Mercedes car. I don't think he wants to try and attack too early on in this race. I think Jared is just trying to stay back from Ryan as well here. Just focus on his own race, get into a bit of a rhythm, as obviously that can prove absolutely crucial in the latter stages of this race when you're just trying to keep those tyres in a good window there. But Greekmaster is closing at the back of Jared, but yeah, I don't think any of them are really trying to line up a move in these early stages of the race. I think these next few laps are going to be very critical for all of them, trying to keep those tyres in a comfortable window. We've got Brock now moving past a Warden. There's Warden, yeah, very slow. He's not even getting up into 8th gear there. He's using no ERS, so a very strange strategy by the Sauber driver there, and he will now drop back down outside of the points, and that'll move Brock in the Toro Rosso back up inside the top 10 there. Yeah, very strange from Warden. He is now using the ERS once more. They're down the inside of Brock maybe once again here. They're going to be side by side as they come through turn 4, but Brock will hold on for now.
Yeah, a nice move, attempted move down into turn 4, but that is definitely a corner. If you have got a car coming out your inside, it's nice wide, a little bit banking through that corner, and you seem to be able to carry it around the outside. It is a difficult place to pull off an overtake. And let's just go back to the front of the field. We were talking about Greekmaster, of course, the winner of the first Grand Prix this season. We were a little bit surprised when he was up the front. We didn't expect him coming into this season, but I was talking to him midweek, and he said, don't be so surprised when I'm actually quick and up the front of the field. His pace has definitely improved coming on to F1 2018 compared to where it was on F1 2017. Of course, he spent a fair bit of time actually in this very commentary box on 2017 before he got a wheel and became a driver again in AOR. Of course, he was previously quite prolific on the pad in previous games and in other leagues before AOR did come to this region of the world, and now he's finding that pace yet again on the wheel. DRS down the pit straight. He's going to look up the inside of Jared into turn 1, a little bit of a wheel bank. Jared's got the inside line through the kink at turn number 2, and the Williams goes right around the outside, and he makes that move stick. Very impressive, but this is not done. The Williams offensive as we head down towards turn number 4. Can the Mercedes do this around the outside, or is Greek got the favorable line on the inside? It looks like the Williams is going to just about make that move stick, and he does, now up into second place.
Yeah, and I'm sure Greek will really take that move as well. Jared almost was able, well, he was still on the inside for turn 2 there, but really it's just not a place you actually want to be on the whole. Pretty much, I don't think I've ever really seen someone on the inside through turn 2 able to get the run down the straight. I think that's a bit of front wing loss for DRC Jared there. He's ran up into the rear of Greekmaster. I'm not too sure if he just got out, but he's given Greekmaster a bit of a BTCC punt to pass there as they come down at this back straight there. But that will not have helped DRC Jared there. I certainly saw a bit of front wing fly off that car. I don't think I can get a particularly good look from around either the spectator cameras or on board, because obviously the halo does block the view there. So, I've seen it, so I'm going to say that's what happens. Warden, though, is out of this race. What has happened there? I think he's had an incident with Brock. Brock is very slow on the inside of the track. Yeah, Warden, he's lost his wheel down the back straight there, so I really wish, unfortunately, we have missed out on that one there, but I can only imagine he's been involved in some very, very strange accident with a Brock. But yeah, not too sure what to make of that one until obviously we get to see replays all over Twitter over the next few hours. But Greekmaster is now back past DRC Jared as well, and now on the outside. I said about how you can very rarely get the run through turn 2, but obviously he's comfortably past the Mercedes car once more here. Is Jared going to be able to get the run down this back straight? Greek is going to try and go defensive. Jared even further to the inside there. He's going to park it on the apex, but Greekmaster, a fantastic switchback move on the exit of the corner there. They will be side by side as they come down through turn 5 and turn 6, but I think Greekmaster is once again going to be able to make it. Well, Jared almost loses the car over the curb, sends it back down the inside though. Once again, Greekmaster on the switchback, but he cannot get the traction out of the corner here, and all this is doing is helping Ryan pull away.
Yeah, an epic little exchange there between Jared and Greekmaster. Some awesome racing, exactly what we do want to see. But in the grand scheme of things, this is not going to help their race at all. The gap from second place up to the lead in New Zealand Ryan has extended to 5.7 seconds thanks to that fighting. And it's going to be interesting to see if they now settle down a little bit or if they do keep getting the elbows out. It was interesting when Jared did make contact with the back of Greekmaster. Just like you, Matt, I definitely saw a bit of front wing fly off the front left or front right of that car, and I can see a little bit of damage on the camera just going past there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jared does go nursing that. And I'm not too sure, did Jared actually redress that position to Greekmaster after the contact? I'm not too sure, but Jared is now diving into the pits on lap number 11. Obviously going for a front wing change, I would say, bringing his pit stop a little bit forward so he doesn't have to deal with that damage for as long, and he is going onto a set of the medium tires.
Yeah, that's obviously not exactly the most comfortable strategy to the end now. He will have to nurse those tyres just a little bit, but it won't be too bad as well, obviously, as long as he doesn't come out in too much traffic there. But that now moves up Timo Marduk into P4 of this race. He's had drop there all over the back of him over these last couple of laps here. It's going to be interesting to see now what the Williams guys do. Obviously, there is no reward for winning the Constructors' Championship in AOR, and obviously team orders don't really come into play, or if they do, it's very, very rarely as well here. Most drivers sort of just race for themselves there. There is no point usually trying to just work out team orders. You know, potentially, you know, the rear tires blistering and you need to help your teammate, the friend from the car behind later on into the race there. But yeah, certainly going to be interesting to see what the Williams cars do obviously how they race with each other. But one thing they do have to remember is the fact that although there are no team orders or anything like that, they do still have to share a pit box in these races. So it will be interesting to see who does get the first call there. I don't know for sure if they're in the same party, but I'm sure it would be very, very useful when they are usually this similarly matched on pace.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what does happen there at Williams. Like you said, I doubt there's going to be any team orders here. You said there's no prize for the Constructors, which is true, but I do talk to the drivers a bit there. There's a little bit of pride wanting to win the Constructors, as now Fens gets first choice on the pit strategy, diving in on lap number 12, and I assume the Williams crew are going to bolt on a set of the medium tires, and indeed they do to Fens. I wonder where he is going to rejoin the race. That was lap number 12. He's come into the pits one lap later than Jared. Maybe he's coming in to try to block off Jared, or he's not going to get an undercut necessarily because he was just behind them. But where is Jared on the track? Maybe it is kind of to get ahead of Jared. Of course, Jared had the front wing change, the slower pit stop, so he's making sure he covers off Jared, who did have that slower pit stop, and he does so indeed, getting out ahead of the Mercedes quite comfortably there, as Jared is fighting Brock Does Stuff and Drop Bear on the circuit.
Yeah, so that has not been the ideal last couple of laps for Jared. Obviously, I'd imagine he's changed that front wing there as well. By the looks of it, he has got a new front wing on that car as well. There, President Cosby sets the fastest lap of the race as well on a 1:30.4, a very, very good lap by him at this stage of the race there. Yeah, with that front wing change and everything for Jared, that has left him a little bit further down the order. Brock Does Stuff makes a very sort of weird mistake there. I think he's just exploring the rest of Bahrain, going for a bit of a sightseeing tour halfway through this race as well. But yeah, Jared now just needs to try and get back up towards Fens here and just utilise the set of medium tyres. But more importantly, he needs to get into a rhythm in this second half of the race, because if you can't get into a rhythm on those mediums, you're going to be in for a really, really tough, sort of final 4-5 laps of this race. That all of these guys, that'll be what they're focusing on. But Ryan and Greekmaster are now both into the pits, which now leaves Team Marduk in the lead of this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how much further in this race he's going to be able to take that set of medium tyres, potentially act as a bit of data for New Zealand Ryan as well here. Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see for him. Neon Tridom still doing a fantastic job on that set of the soft tyres as well. They're able to take them all the way through so far in this race, now up into P2, but I'm sure New Zealand Ryan obviously will be able to get back past him very, very quickly in this race. Master Berserk, though, has actually been able to come out between Greek and New Zealand Ryan there, so that's certainly been a little positive for him. So, he's still remaining relevant in this race, in the fight at the front, because obviously anything can happen. Safety car is once again enabled for this season as well here. So, there's always that in the back of the drivers' minds as well here. So it's certainly far from over. We're not even halfway through this race just yet, but New Zealand Ryan still in the net lead of this race, with his Ferrari teammate currently leads.
One driver possibly holding out for a safety car is Neon Tridome. He is yet to stop, still on the soft tyres. One of the last drivers still on the soft tyres that hasn't actually made a pit stop. He's actually got himself into second place so far by doing so, but he has Ryan just behind him, about 2 seconds back, as most drivers have made their pit stop. We talked about Master Berserk, of course. He started on super soft tyres. He had great pace right at the start of the Grand Prix for about 3 laps. He got himself from 6th on the grid into the lead, but had to make a very, very early pit stop, lap 4 I do believe. So he's now been on those mediums for 8 laps, and he's in a pack with Ryan and Greek. Well, he's near those guys on track who have only just completed their first lap on those tyres, as now Neon Tridome does pull off into the pit lane on lap number 14. I assume he's going to be slotting onto the medium tyres. It'll be interesting to see where he does rejoin in the midfield battle.
Yeah, that's really, really good job though by Neon Tridome, because that'll mean between now and the end of this race he will be able to, just push a little bit more than the guys around him here, so we could see him, get back up into the points towards the end of this race. If you're just trying to have a look down the order, it seems that most people have sort of settled down a bit. I think the only sort of close quarters battle we have at the moment is probably between Roscoe Arm and Pencilman here as they come down in towards turn 1 here. Roscoe Arm to the outside of the McLaren driver. Is he going to be able to make it work around the outside? Pencilman does take a very sort of strange line through the first corner there, but Roscoe Arm on the switchback all the way out down at this next straight here. I think he is going to be able to make that work. Pencilman, though, will be on the inside as they come now down in towards turn 4 here. Is he going to be able to hold on to that? I think he is. Yeah, he does. Fantastic defensive manoeuvre by the McLaren driver there, and he will still hold on to P12 at this stage of the race here. Yeah, that seems to be one of the closest battles on track. We've also got the Toro Rossos a little bit further down the order as well, having a bit of a battle there as well, but it seems that Harry Ryan has now moved past his teammate Brock does stuff, and how times change so quickly in Formula 1, even in AOR. Brock last week on the podium, and now currently he's down in last place.
So, just quickly, we've had a donation in from WR Blazer Guns of £4.99. We thank you very, very much, as Roscoe Arm looks to have redressed that position to Pencilman, I do believe. But thank you to WR Blazer Guns. You're a legend. We thank you for your donation, and it does help us run this stream and the whole of AOR, helping making all the cogs turn, because there is a bit of money involved, especially with the website and whatnot, and running such a big league. So many people involved, but we thank you for that. If you do want to help, we very much do appreciate it. Back to the race we do go. It's very close on track between Pencilman. It looks like Quicksilver and that laggy person are actually having a little bit of a fight. It looks like Quicksilver saying just made a move on the Haas down the pit straight, and it looks like going back a little bit. We've got another Haas in the slipstream of a McLaren. Roscoe Arm pulling to the outside as Pencilman does go defensive up into turn number 1. Roscoe Arm going for a switchback through turn number 2, and he can't quite do that. He has a better run onto the straight down through turn 3. Now as he head down towards turn 4, could President Cosby get involved in this in the Force India? Not quite. The Haas looks to the outside of turn number 4, but he just runs it a little bit too wide, and that move is not going to work. He's going to have to sit in behind that McLaren in 13th place for a little bit longer.
Yeah, Roscoe Arm, I noticed going up between turn 3 and turn 4. Oh, he sends it down the inside there of the McLaren driver there. That caused all, I think, a little bit unexpected. They're going to be side by side as they now come down in towards turn 9 and turn 10. Is he going to be able to make it work in the Haas car? They're still side by side. This is fantastic racing. I think President Cosby has got the best seat in the house at the moment to watch this battle as they come now down the back straight here. New Zealand Ryan fastest lap of the race as well here. But I think Pencilman is going to be able to hold on for now, but Roscoe Arm, once again, is going to try and get the switchback move here. But I've noticed Roscoe is not using his ERS. He's just left it on 1 pretty much so far around this lap that I've been on board with him. And I'm not too sure why, because he could probably be past the McLaren by now. And finally, he switches it up all the way into mode 3 there, into, I think it's, sorry, I don't know what mode it is actually. I think it's Richmond.
Oh,
that's not gone well. He's completely punted Pencilman there. From wing has been lost. President Cosby will take those 2 places there, and that has not been ideal from Roscoe Arm there. That is going to be a very, very big incident. Both of them are going to have to dive it into the pit lane there, and that is not exactly what either of those 2 would have wanted there. And now they're going to be right down behind the Toro Rossos in this race once more there. And I think they'll both go for a front wing change. No, I don't think the McLaren has. He's just now on to a set of the medium tyres. They're looking to try and take... Sorry, no, is he on a set of mediums or is he on another set of softs? It is softs. So that's going to be very, very tough to try and take those through to the end of this race. But it looks like they're both now going to try and take them through to the end. And I think the only real people we are waiting on another pitch that will be Ben, that Maggie person, and President Cosby. And
like you did say, President Cosby definitely had the best seat in the house for that battle. He got a great view of it, saw them take each other out off the road and got 2 free positions. He can't complain too much about that, and he now finds himself up into 12th place. However, he has a 10-second gap up to that laggy person in 11th, who is right on the back of Neon Treedome. However, his soft tyres are looking a little bit worse. We're 10 laps on them now, whereas Neon is on a set of the mediums. Of course, he went one of the longest drivers on the soft tyres at the start of the Grand Prix, as now Team at Marduk has pitted from the lead of the Grand Prix on lap number 17. He's going to be fitting a set of soft tyres. He rejoins in 6th place behind Jared, just up the road, about 3 seconds up the road. This is going to be interesting. Ben has good pace. He has fresh tyres. What is he going to be able to do in this race? Is he going to be able to challenge for a podium or even challenge his teammate for the win in this Grand Prix? Still 12 laps to go. This is going to be a fascinating end.
It certainly is here. Yeah, Ryan obviously now back up into lead. He's got a 7.5 second gap to Master Berserk here as well. But Greek Master, yeah, still holding on to P3, and obviously that'll be a net P2. But yeah, Ben has come out all the way, as you said, in P6 of this race, in a bit of a Mercedes sandwich here. So he could still, hassle these guys towards the end of this race. If, for example, if these guys all start fighting, they are still all very, very closely bunched. This could work out absolutely fantastically for Ben with that tyre advantage towards the end of this race here. 12 laps to go now of this Grand Prix here, and it is really, really shaping up very titanic, potentially 4-5 car battle between New Zealand and Ryan here. But so far this race, he is doing absolutely everything he needs to and leading quite comfortably. Another fastest lap there. I think that's less than 20 thousandths quicker than his previous PB. But, everyone else will see that on the track, and for Ryan, it's just that bit of psychological warfare that he plays with the other drivers, which has ultimately helped him wrap up the first 2 AOR Oceania.
We have Greek Master up the inside of Berserk. Contact. Sorry to cut you off. The battle for 2nd place. The Williams launched it. Couldn't quite get it. Stopped a little bit of contact with the Force India. And it looks like Berserk could possibly feel slightly at fault, or is he just defending? That is just defending. He is not redressing that position. Of course, Berserk pitted on lap 4. He has about 7 more laps on those medium set of tyres. How is he going to hold on? Those tyres are definitely going to be worse for wear. And is he going to hold them right through to the end of the Grand Prix? We're just going to have to wait and see. But going back to talking about Ben, looking at the gaps with the tyre advantage he has, if there is a little bit of fighting like we just saw with Master Berserk and Greek Master, who is just locked up down into the tricky turn number 10, I feel like a Ferrari 1-2 could potentially be on here with a tyre advantage, a bit of fighting, and everything staying clean. You never know. The tyre advantage could prove very, very pivotal as we continue to watch Greek Master hassle the back of that Force India. How much longer can Berserk hold in there?
Yeah, well, it's a case of whether he wants to hold in there very much longer or whether he just wants to utilise a set of the soft tyres to the end of this race. Or maybe, he's trying to get through onto a set of the super softs here. But obviously every lap now that he stays out, he will lose a little bit in that final stint. But obviously it is just that question of, on the other side of that, towards the end of the race, how much pace does he want to lose? But Greek Master looks like he's gearing himself up once again. They're back up into 8th gear, ERS mode on overtake, DRS deployed as well here to the outside in towards turn 1. Then Master Berserk is going to be able to get it slowed down on the apex. It will leave Greek Master on the inside through turn 2. Is Master Berserk going to be able to hold on? I think he is. Ben, I just saw, set the fastest lap of the race there as well. 7 tenths clear of anything else that we've seen so far today. Codemasters to the outside through turn 4, though. Once again, is he going to be able to make it work around the outside here? They're going to be side by side coming into the S. I don't think either of them are going to back out massive berserk. As soon as I says that goes against me and does back out of that, a Codemasters now back up into P2 of this race here, and now it's just a case of trying to run like hell and get away from this little group of cars.
Yeah, he has Berserk now just in behind him, and he could potentially hold up Fens a little bit, so he might not have too much pressure from behind. Now Greek can set his sights on our reigning champion, New Zealand Ryan, but because of that battle that went on for probably a bit longer than Greek had hoped, the gap is now out to 9.4 seconds to New Zealand Ryan, so a big task for Greek. If he's going to reel in Ryan and win this race, he'll have to almost be a second faster per lap, and that will be a big struggle. We know Ryan is a very, very quick driver. Just getting into that position is tough enough, but now let's look to the other Williams as he tries to find his way past the Force India, heading down to the final corner. We go, really closing in on the brakes there, up to the back of Master Berserk. He's got, well, there goes Berserk into the pit lane. He's had enough of those medium tyres. 14 laps is all he can manage, and I assume he's probably going to go on to set of the Super Softs to the end from, or actually, he only did 4 laps on the Super Softs, plus maybe 2 or 3 laps in qualifying, so it could be a stretch to go. He's gone onto the soft tyres. I correct myself there, I apologize getting that wrong. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do and where he does slot in. It looks like about 10th place.
Yeah, it is going to be all the way back down into P10, but he will obviously be probably the quickest car on the track between now and the end of the race, so I'm sure we will see him close up to a good couple of cars right towards the end of this Grand Prix. 9 laps to go of this race, and it is really, really starting to shake up. We've got 2 Ferraris, 2 Williams, and 2 Mercedes make up the top 6, and I don't think I'd ever see Williams fighting with these guys again here. Yeah, doing a very, very good job, both Codemasters and Fens. Obviously, you don't quite see this in real life. There's 6 cars fighting for the, well, potentially for the race victory. Obviously, if Ryan was to make some sort of error, but obviously we rarely see that from Ryan. He's usually one of the most cool, calm, collected guys on the grid as well here. Yeah, Jared now is only half a second off Tim Mardick as well, so you cannot count him out of this either. And Drop Bear still done a fantastic job to bring Mercedes good points in this race as well. Obviously, if everything was to finish in the current position it is in. But yeah, as you can see further down the others, I think there is only sort of this battle as well, as Harry Ryan is fairly close to the back of that laggy person as well. So we have got a couple of small battles starting to brew up with just 8 laps now to go of this race. And obviously this one is just outside the points. Obviously the one between Jared and Ben is for a huge host of points as well here. Jared just not close enough in towards turn 1 here, but these guys are starting, sort of wind them up, save a bit of ERS, ready for a final sort of charge, say on lap 23, lap 24, for example. Or does Jared just sit back and let Ben, get up to those other guys, sort of drag him along, back up to them to those 2 William cars? Codemasters, though, is actually starting to take time out of Ryan as well here, so that's really just proving how much pace he does still have on that set of medium tyres here. And Fens is just struggling to keep up and is starting to fall back into the clutches of that second Ferrari car.
I think Jared is just going to sit in behind Team at Marduk right now. I am looking in chat. Ben got past Jared. We did miss it on the commentary, but people are calling DRC Jared DRC Bottas, so I have a feeling that Jared didn't put up much of a fight there with Team at Marduk, led him through on a different tyre strategy, and now Ben is hunting down the 2 Williams. Of course, the glory of equal cars bringing Williams back to glory here. Currently on for a double podium, but what can Team at Marduk do about that? Of course, tyre strategy is very important in this Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, the front 3 all started on a set of the soft tyres, switched to the mediums around lap number 12-13, whereas Ben started in 11th place. Of course, free choice of tyre, went for the opposite strategy, started on the mediums, and just 5 laps ago bolted on a set of the soft tyres, so he has a lot more pace, but he doesn't have the track position. What is he going to be able to do? So on to lap number 22 of 29 in today's Grand Prix.
Yeah, Ben just really isn't actually taking that much time at these guys over these last couple of laps here. I've noticed as well, he has actually got a fuel warning coming up as well, so maybe he's able to start to save a bit of fuel here. He's used up a lot of his ERS, he's used up a lot of his fuel quite clearly here, and he's certainly still got the tyre advantage over these guys through the final couple of laps, but he just doesn't seem to be closing as much as I would have expected here. He probably will a lot more through this middle sector. Obviously, it is a lot more based on the grip rather than sort of like the fuel and the raw power of these cars. But I mean, even P4 would be a fantastic job for him, starting from outside the top 10. Only Neon Trio has made up as many places in this Grand Prix there, so that would still obviously be a fantastic race. But Brock Does Stuff is back into the pits there. I think he's lost pretty much all of his front wing, so not too sure what has gone on for the Toro Rosso driver there. But I think this one is definitely going to be a race to forget. But I think, yeah, he's going on to a set of these super soft tyres here, so maybe he's trying to go for fastest lap right towards the end of this race, give him something to take away from this Grand Prix. Yeah, Ben has only taken about, what, 3/10 out of the two Williams cars ahead of him on this lap. And, well, Fens is dropping far more than that to Greekmaster there, as Greekmaster has taken a second at Orion over this last lap there. So, well, I mean, it might be a little too late in this race, but it's still certainly not over here, as Greekmaster is really starting to push over these last few laps of this race, and really just going to show what could have been if he'd been able to get through the order a little bit quicker at the start of this race. Not too sure what Brock's doing in the background. I'm not too sure if that's lag or whether he's just trying to get some heat in those tyres like it's his new formation lap. But yeah, I think we'll focus on the battle further up the road, as now the gap between Ben and Fens is now just crept under 2 seconds.
Just quickly going to the back of the field, that was a very sorry looking Toro Rosso coming back into the pit lane. I didn't see the incident, however, he was very close on track with Pencil Man when I saw him coming down the back straight, and Pencil Man was just weaving in front of him. Sort of a bit of a telling off, I guess. Something definitely did go down between the Toro Rosso and the McLaren. I'm sure we'll see later on social media what did happen. But the gap is coming down at the front like it did mention, but I highly doubt that is coming down quick enough for Greekmaster to challenge for the lead. We have a close battle on track for the last 2 points-paying positions. Neon Tridome just ahead of Master Berserk, the Force India. Now with the DRS flap open as we head down towards turn number 11. Can he get up the inside of the Red Bull? Yes, he can on fresher tyres. He swoops through and takes that 9th place, doubling the amount of points he will get from today's Grand Prix. Of course, much fresher tyres there for Berserk on a 2-stop strategy after starting on the Supers and just not being able to make those tyres last.
Yeah, it's just obviously Master Berserk is, well, it's almost done to a bit of damage limitation for him towards the end of this race. And I mean, you know, he had a good bit of battle at the start. Obviously, he did lead after a fantastic opening lap of the race. Almost, I think the best way to describe it was almost Senna-esque from Donington all those years ago. Just carved his way through the order over the opening lap of this race. But at the moment, yeah, he's all the way down in P9, which is probably a little less Senna-esque on the whole there. But just having a look further back, Neon Trudeau has not given up on that battle just yet. I think he tried to send it down the inside at turn 1, but just was not able to make it work there. But the gap between Ben and Fens has pretty much stagnated now around 2 seconds here. So Ben, he's still using 0 according to the ERS, so maybe he's just trying to save up a little bit towards the end of this race. But at the moment, he really does look, although he's still got the car and pace advantage, I would imagine, obviously on that quicker tyres. Obviously all the cars are equal. He just hasn't been able to manage the ERS, and I think the best way that would have been effective for him at this stage of the day, and obviously I'm not too sure, obviously a couple of laps back he did have the fuel warning flashing up as well here, so maybe it's not quite been the race that Ben wanted, and he is having to go a little bit slower than he would have liked at this stage of the day. But if you were him right now, would you say take 1 lap off, just try and save up everything once more, and then attack over the final few laps, or would you just focus on trying to bring home those 12 points?
I'd 100% back off for a lap, get the tyre temperatures in order, charge up the battery, save your fuel. He's not doing that though, because he's got down to 30% on the ERS and he went all the way up into hot lap mode down the straight. So he's not doing what I'm saying I would do, but that's what I'd do. Back off, save everything up, get up to almost 100%, save a bit of fuel, make sure your tyres are in the nice working window, and then go hard for the last couple of laps. Have every shot you can at getting a podium. I wouldn't settle for 4th place. That's don't think he'd be too disappointed after his qualifying. And of course, the disaster that was the Australian Grand Prix to come away with 12 points from 4th place. We'll just have to wait and see what can he do. Of course, he does have fresher tyres and softer tyres than the 3 cars in front of him. But are those tyres now starting to go off? The wear has been quite high. You saw the super soft runners at the start of the Grand Prix only making it 4 or 5 laps. Ben's done 8 laps now on these tyres? Has he been too aggressive, taking the life out of them? Or is he just struggling managing the car in other aspects of the ERS and the fuel? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. And I'm sure he'll talk about in his video later in the week. But the gap at the front, sitting at 7.5. I can't quite read here. Between Ryan and Greek, that doesn't look like changing. With only 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, I highly doubt Greek is going to be able to do anything about New Zealand. Ryan, he looks set to take his first win of the season. Not going to say too much. Don't want to put a commentator's curse on him, but he looks in a very comfortable position. And can Williams hold on for a double podium here?
Yeah, I'm sure that would be very, very good for those guys once more. They would lose out on a few points to Ferrari overall in the constructors, but still, even well, me, I've got a soft spot for Williams as well, so I always want to see them do well, absolutely everywhere. Probably doesn't help that I race with them in AOR, so usually you don't quite get the results I'd like to see there. But yeah, very, very different, obviously, between even us two there. Ben, I would personally just do what I think it's something like he's trying to do and just consolidate that P4 here. But quite clearly, you're a bit more of an aggressive driver than myself, Fitcho here. You're always about trying to make gains, trying to make places, which is obviously a bit of a different style. But having a look further down the order, Massive Zuck is now back within 1 second of Quicksilver here, so he is still trying to make up places towards the end of this race. But I'm going to try and have a quick look at penalties here. I don't know if you can try and find any sort of action at the moment, or whether you just want to have a focus on Massive Zuck and Quicksilver. But I'm just going to try and look, see if I can find any penalties and if it'll make any significant changes.
Yeah, the Quicksilver Berserk does look like the closest battle on the circuit right now. Only 0.6 of a second separating the two drivers. Quicksilver has a set of mediums bolted to his Renault that have done 13 laps, whereas the Berserk has tyres 1 step softer with the soft compound that have done half the laps, only 6 laps. So I feel like the Force India is going to have extreme pace compared to that Renault. And is he going to be able to make his way past the Renault and double his points yet again from 2 to 4 championship points? Of course, going back to the start of the Grand Prix, I think I've mentioned this a couple times, that the Renault runs a little bit wide there through the penultimate corner. He's pulling over a bit defensive down the straight, but the Force India is not quite close enough heading down into the final corner. Berserk had extreme pace right at the start of the Grand Prix, got up into the lead on super soft tyres, but he couldn't make them last. As now, down the pit straight we do go, the Renault pulling across the inside, going defensive, the Force India right up his gearbox, he pulls to the outside, side by side, and the Force India blasts past him with DRS, a good tow, hot lap, not quite hot lap, overtake on the ERS, and that was a very simple move there for the Force India. He would have been aided with the extra grip through the final corner, getting a better run on to that straight as well. He moves his way up into 8th place as we have 2.5 laps to go. He has 3.9 seconds up to DLG Gamble, and I doubt he is going to be able to reel that in, as we did have yellow flags out momentarily, and it looks like Brock does stuff is off into a gravel trap, and his day could be done. A fall from grace there for the Toro Rosso driver, as he does indeed retire from the Grand Prix, pulling off to the side of the track, and I think he's had enough. He doesn't feel like doing the last 2.5 laps here at Bahrain. Of course, he had a miracle podium in Australia, the Australian Grand Prix, the last race of the season, the first race of the championship, where he just capitalized from all the chaos early on and managed to hold off the reigning champion to take that podium. But his day is now done in a lonely 16th place, not finishing the Grand Prix. But we're now onto the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. Ben has got the gap under 2 seconds, defends only just, however, and he is still very, very low on the ERS. He's in hot lap mode, but only got 17%, and the fuel light is on yet again. It definitely looks like he is struggling to manage the ERS in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he really is struggling there. A couple of guys were saying in the chat that now Ben's sort of turned it up again. He did close that gap down to about 1.5, but then has had to just save ERS once more here. He's really running out towards the end of the straights, and obviously once you get below 10%, the ERS really reduces the amount of power you are given as well here. So it's probably, really unfortunate for Ben that he just doesn't seem to be able to close up enough. If he could get it within inside 1 second, then he would really be able to attack fence coming into this final lap. But I just don't think he's going to be able to make that work there. He's now back up to 40% though of the ERS charge. He does have a little bit more than Fens at this stage of the day, but it's very close between the pair of them here. And obviously with an equal playing field, Fens has got a 1.5 second gap at the end of the day, and that is far more important here. But yeah, Ryan now is coming in towards the final lap of this race, and I think Quicksilver did have 1 penalty there. Roscoe Arm did have 2, which is obviously really unfortunate for him, but it's not going to cost him any places. President Cosby had 1, and then Harry Ryan also had one. So Pencilman could gain out of that as well here. But now onto the final lap of this race. 3 retirements from this Grand Prix. Obviously, HO going out very, very early on. Warden having a very, very strange crash with Brock does stuff there, and Brock, unfortunately, is no longer doing any stuff in this race. He is also pulled off to the sidelines there. So Ryan, yeah, still leads the way. Only 6 seconds now clear to Greek, but it would have to be a pretty miracle final lap. I think he might have to, Sector 2 might not exist for Greek Master if he wanted to win this race here. But yeah, still a 5.8 second gap, and unfortunately Ben is still at 1.7 behind Fens.
Yeah, we did talk in the Australian Grand Prix, the first race on this game, how important the new aspects of this game, like ERS management, would be to these races, and we've just seen that perfectly in this Grand Prix. Ben just unable to catch up to Fens, struggling to manage that ERS. It does surprise me a little bit that Ben struggled with that. He's done so many career mode races, he spent so much time on this game. I thought he would have nailed that skill by now, but clearly he has not quite managed to do that so far, manage that ERS well, and has proved pivotal in his podium charge. But now let's go back to the front of the field. Only one corner stands between New Zealand Ryan and his first victory of the season. The Ferrari with the number 1 on the front. Of course, our reigning champion rounds the final corner as he heads down to the start-finish line to win today's Bahrain Grand Prix. And it looks like Williams are going to come home with the double podium as the Australian Grand Prix winner makes it 2 podiums in a row. Greek Master 99 comes home in second. His teammate Fens in third to round out the podium, and Team at Marduk just falling short there in 4th place, struggling with the ERS, followed home by the 2 Mercedes with Jared and Drop there.
Yeah, very, very interesting race there. On the whole, tyre strategy obviously came into it quite a lot in this race, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of guys that are very, very happy with that result. Harry actually picks up another time penalty right towards the end of this race as well. But I think, well, he'll only be able to drop 1 place anyway because President Cosby and Roscoe ended up 1 lap down there. But Laggy Person is unfortunately just going to miss out on points. Warden then obviously is understandably left the race after that, but obviously these guys are meant to stay in the race until it ends. But yeah, that's a very, very good race by Ryan. They did absolutely everything he needed to. It looked potentially in question over the first couple of laps, but as soon as he got back up into the lead of the race, well, he just did what Ryan does, and almost a Sebastian Vettel-esque victory there, which obviously we've seen a few years ago. Not so much nowadays there, but yeah, Ryan, obviously another comfortable victory in that Ferrari car. He takes his first one of the season, and although that won't mean he's in the lead of the Drivers' World Championship, he'll only be 16, no, sorry, less points than that, behind Greek Master as they go into the next couple of rounds of the season. Sorry, 6 points behind Greek Master as they move into the Chinese Grand Prix next time out.
Yeah, a very impressive drive from our reigning champion. Like you said, things looked in doubt at the start of the Grand Prix. Jared got a better start on the front row of the grid with him and got up his inside. And then, of course, Master Berserk, early charger on the super soft tyres, got up into the lead as well, dropping Ryan down to 3rd place. But in the end, he did prevail as Jared struggled throughout the entire Grand Prix. That's something we've seen in both races so far. Jared, he's had immense 1-lap pace, but he just hasn't been able to make it stick over a 29-lap Grand Prix. And here we go. The final race results. New Zealand Ryan is your winner tonight here in Bahrain. A double Williams podium as Greek Master makes it 2 podiums in a row after victory in Australia, with Fens joining him there. Team at Marduk, Jared and Drop Bear in 4th, 5th and 6th. DLG Gamble there in the McLaren in 7th. Master Berserk making his way up to 8th place after dropping down the order early on with the 2-stop strategy after an early charge, but the 2-stop strategy not working out for him. Then Quicksilver and Neon Tridome round out the points. That Laggy Person just missing out with Pencil Man there in 12th. Harry Ryan in 13th. President Cosby, Roscoe round out our finishes. Brock Does Stuff, Warden and HO not finishing today's Grand Prix. HO retired in an lap 1 collision, I do believe it was. Warden and Brock came together down the DRS straight between turn 10 and 11. I've been reading in chat, they were having a quick discussion. Apparently that crash was purely down to lag, unfortunately, for those 2 drivers. Very, very unfortunate to see lag involved in these races. Hopefully Codemasters can work on the netcode even more, but it is something we do find here in Australia. We do have notoriously worse internet than a lot of parts of the first world, and unfortunately lag does sometimes come into effect, and it did so today. But who would you say was your driver of the day, Matt?
For me, driver of the day, it would have to be a toss-up between either of the Ferrari drivers. I'm going to give it to Ryan. You know, he comfortably led after the first round of the season. You know, it must have been a bit tough for him. Obviously, he's always been in the front. You know, it's very, very rare we see him anywhere but the top step of the podium. And to come back, bounce back that well, and obviously just, well, really, although in terms of the actual race results, it might look like he dominated it entirely, it was obviously a very, very commanding race victory in the end. Controlled, cool, calm, collected, and yeah, for me, Ryan is my driver of the day.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. I'd say driver of the day was New Zealand Ryan. You've talked about him a lot. You said Tim Manu could be in contention there, but I don't think he deserves it over Ryan. He played an alternate strategy in today's Grand Prix after a poor qualifying, being down in 11th place, and then he just struggled what it looked like with the management of the car in the second stint of the race and couldn't quite make his way up onto the podium. For that reason, a dominating drive from Ryan. Dropped down to 3rd place, but kept cool under pressure and had some nice battles on track to take the victory. But that is going to do it for us here with AOR in tonight AOR Oceania F1 stream on the Xbox One console. New Zealand Ryan, our reigning champion, was the winner, his first win of the season. Thank you guys to everyone that has been watching. I think I saw it get up to about 395 people watching, which is a little bit crazy. We thank you all for taking a bit of time out of your night or afternoon or morning, depending on where you're watching in the world, to watch some AOR content. If you guys did enjoy the stream, make sure you do like it. Make sure you do subscribe to the Apex Online Racing channel to see these streams every week, along with all the other F1 leagues. There's more European races coming up later in the day, as well as the Americas League right at the end of the day, which is going to be at odd hours for everyone in Australia and in Europe. And of course, all the other racing AOR does stream, including stuff on R Factor and iRacing. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed commentary from myself and Matt, you can check out our personal channels in the description if you want to support us personally. We thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you later.